How do you make Flash movies? How do you make Flash movies? How do you make Flash movies? Hi there, I'm TV's Roger van der Weijden. People keep asking me, how do you make Flash movies? And today I'm going to answer your questions. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to unfold every secret of Flash. Keep in mind though, this is not an actual tutorial, I'm just showing you the general process of how I make a Flash animation without actually going in depth in every little detail. First of all, I need a script, and boy do I have one here. Look at it, retard. Yeah, it will do, I guess. Good, Flash itself. These are all the versions that exist. These ones I never used, these ones I hate, these ones I love, and the other ones are just a bit old-fashioned. Anyway, we use Flash 8 for the example of this movie, because it's in between. Anyway, you can buy Flash if you want it, or you can become a pirate and install it illegally. I'd like to make clear for all those watching that I know nothing about piracy of Flash, don't endorse it, never do it at all, because I'm all perfect and stuff. Now let's begin. Right, so we start up Flash, and what do we see? Lots of strange options. Ignore them all, just go to File and New, because the rest is just for presentations and slideshows and stuff, not for us. Anyway, we open it and what do we see? A big white square, this is the stage or the actual animation you will see. Then we have a timeline, which I'll explain later. There's tools there which you can use to draw. Well, there's a library, there are colors, there's properties under. We'll get to that. I always start by drawing the background. The scene is a bit pie-ish, so I'm looking for a pie location. And what do we find? In Google for photos, for inspiration, we get lots of strange stuff that's completely useless. So I look for a cool room, because I guess the movie will be in a living room, and are these cool rooms? Boring. Anyway, I'll pick this one for inspiration, because backgrounds become a lot more colorful when you base them on photos. Anyway, let's begin. Okay, I begin by drawing straight lines to give the room a little bit shape, because I can put the furniture in later. So you can just use straight lines with Flash, which is very useful for the basics. If you try drawing more organic shapes like this incredible stick figure, you soon notice that Flash tends to make them all squarey. That's because of a stupid default option, so put it on smooth or ink to make it more like you actually draw them. This good and looks a lot more like I actually draw it, instead of what Flash makes of it with all this weird squarey stuff. Good, make sure you color the furniture. If you put the furniture in later, we'll bother with the previous background. Also, now I'll show you a great option of Flash, the free transform. Photoshop has it as well. Anyway, speaking of colors, you have two options. The swatches, the pre-made colors who are very bright, and the color mixer in which you can use your custom-made color, or grayish or whatever you want. I tend to use the swatches for main characters and the color mixer for backgrounds to make them more toned down. The bucket is for coloring in, but Flash is really bitchy about it, so make sure you put closing gaps on medium to make it slightly less painful to do. As you can see, it cooperates a little bit more. Okay, making the background a little bit more detailed. I hate empty spaces in backgrounds. Anyway, now I color it in, and as you can see, there are always a little bit of spots behind that are uncolored, because Flash is really annoying when it comes to coloring. Linear coloring, something I didn't explain yet. It's the same as in Photoshop. You can use linear to make more shiny, metalish color effects. I don't use it that often, usually only for sky, like I do it now. A nice little purplish sunshine sky. Oh, and I also use it for the traditional IMP wallpaper color. Righto! So, filling up the air with a little bit more clouds and coloring them. And I'm going to explain how you do shading. Always make sure that there's the option that your brush drawings don't go through pencil. I prefer doing shadings always with a brush. Ha! So we spent an hour talking about how you draw in Flash with no animation inside yet. So now let's jump in right into the actual animation. Okay, so animating is all about the timeline, so let's go to the timeline. You'll notice layers. Well, everyone who uses Photoshop knows about layers, so let's make a couple new layers. What's the point of layers, you ask? Well, with a layer you can draw drawings that are independent of the other drawings. Let's say I draw a table. As you can see, I can move the table without bothering the rest of the background. Let's say if I would move the skyscrapers in the background, then original background will be ruined because it's just one hole. So I make an entirely shiny new layer especially for Sonic. First of all, I only draw his head, because his head is going to move separately from the rest of his body. I draw it and ah, great, it turns to a squarey monster again. I guess I forgot to turn off the option. So let's turn back the option of smooth, color it in, and voila, we have a Sonic. And you can make him even smoother by picking the option smooth. Excellent. Time for a little Sonic Movie Madness style shading. I'll just pick a darker shade of blue, pick the brush and draw the shape I want to shade on his body. Then I'll pick the bucket with an even darker color of shade. And after we make Flash finally cooperate, an hour of shading later, we finally have our Sonic head. Great! So make another new layer and we can start on the body, which we're going to draw separately from the body as I said before. So you draw the body, Sonic's hot sexy body. Ooh. Yes, I always draw necks on Sonic, it's easier I guess when you make them up in parts. Then I draw his arms, or at least one at a time. Now make sure that every body part is at the right place. If one body part is too far up, you can put it down by just sliding the layers. Okay, so now we have our entire Sonic. Great! The next thing I'm going to create for my animation is time, because, well, that's what movies are about. Time. Go to the timeline and we see that there's just only one frame, so only one drawing in this animation. We want more drawings. So click on the timeline on the top and press and hold F5 to create more pages. Every page is part of a second, and so we have actual time. To make more time faster, I usually select more frames at the same time and then press F5, so you can make a very long file right at the beginning. If you go down, you can see how long the movie is. There are the seconds, 70 seconds now. And now for Flash True Secret, tweens. These are short for in-betweens. This is the way Flash calculates the animations for you. Right click on the layers you want to be tweened, only Sonic in this case, and you'll notice that the layers become blue. Notice some frames are empty and some have a black dot. Black dots are the ones where you give a command. First of all, I make a new section of keyframes, the black dots, to make sure that in the time of the first frame and the later frame where the keyframes are, Sonic will stay still. Now I want to make a move, so I make another set of keyframes. You do that by pressing F6 while you selected the layers, or you can just click on Sonic and the dots will create themselves. It was rather easy and very stiff. Now for a more complicated movement. I'm going to make Sonic jump up in surprise. First I indicate his starting and ending point with a set of keyframes, and then I make a middle part where I make the exaggerated movement. With free transform I can use every kind of exaggeration I want. I can make him fall that way or fall this way. I can make him stretch in or out. I can rotate him. Everything to make it extreme and make it more fluent so he doesn't jump too stiffly. Anyway, after you finish with the middle part, the extreme part of the middle of the jump, I always make extra keyframes around the middle section of the keyframes and put some extra empty frames in the middle of them, so he will slow down. So in the middle of his jump he kind of slows down, and it gives a kind of cool effect in animation. Real animators will probably laugh at the idea, say it's very amateuristic, but for little amateurs as me, it's kind of cool. So now it looks kind of more natural. As a final extra trick, I'm gonna make him bounce back, so after his jump he kind of folds in. So I animate that he's gonna be very stretched, very flat after his little jump. And I made the keyframes already that he is back in his finished position before I stretch it flat. So if you watch the movie now, he jumps up and then folds back bouncing, which looks kinda neat.